All right. So this talk is titled My Journey from Red Team Fat to Red Team Fit. Going to start with a blanket disclaimer. Not a doctor. Consult a professional before you make any lifestyle changes because you never know if you have any health issues or risk for anything. You have no idea how that might impact you. And then also the big one that every diet should have is what worked for me may not work for you. So you can't expect the same results as someone else. Everyone's body's different. So at a high level, there's nothing really crazy about what I did, just diet and exercise. But the real struggle for me is just that at heart, I love food and eating. I'm not a foodie per se because I don't eat like fancy things, but I eat a lot of really bad things. And then I'm also really bad at sticking to habits because if I don't like something, as anyone knows that's worked with me, I fight against things that I don't like nonstop. And then also, the other thing is just accepting faults and limits. Like, I have a very hard time, like, when I get to that point with my body where I've pushed it as far as it can go, there's times where I'm just like, well, I should be able to go further. And I have to be able to step back and say, wait a minute, you're going to hurt yourself if you try and push too hard. So this all started for me. The journey started in February of this year, right before everything turned to chaos. I weighed about 235 pounds. I was horribly like weak for being so large. Got winded going up and down stairs. Had like random knee and back pains when I would go up and down stairs. I felt like a failure as a father and a husband because I knew that my lifestyle was definitely not something that was going to be promoting a long, healthy life to be around for my wife and daughter. So that's the point where I finally sort of hit rock bottom and decided I needed to turn things around. So the first thing I did was start by tracking calories. There's a British show called Secret Eaters, and anyone who is interested in tracking calories, I highly recommend you watch an episode or two of that show because the whole premise behind the show is they bring these people on who have claimed that dieting just doesn't work for them. No matter how much they limit their intake of calories, they just can't lose weight. And so what the show does is it puts cameras in their house, it puts private detectives on them watching what they do, and then for like a week they track everything they eat. Like the private detectives will go and pull wrappers out of the trash can that people throw away after they've eaten the snack or whatever, and then they'll do this big reveal at the end where they show the person who claims that dieting doesn't work for them how many actual calories they were really eating. So when they said like, oh, I was only eating 1,500 calories a day and I couldn't lose any weight, they would have a meal that by itself was 1,500 calories, or they'd be drinking enough beer to offset like 3,000 or more calories over the course of the week. The other thing that really worked for me is using an app to track calories. There's no way I would be able to use like a spreadsheet to just manually keep track of all of that stuff. And the nice thing with a lot of the apps that are out there today is a lot of the like commercial foods, like your fast foods or restaurants and stuff, they're already sort of preloaded into those apps. So it's a lot quicker to load them up. And you can use the barcode scanning feature to scan a lot of packaged foods. So the app that I ended up using and I really like is called Lose It. Highly recommend that app. It has like some gamification, as all of them do, where you can earn like badges and stuff like that. But I found the food database within Lose It to actually be far better than any of the other ones I've used, because I've also used an app called BodBot, and I've used the Fitbit calorie tracker, which I've found to just be horrible and unintuitive to try and track calories through there. And at first, before you even make any changes, just counting all of the calories, you start to realize like, oh my God, like I'm eating like 3,500 to 4,000 calories a day and definitely not doing enough active lifestyle to actually burn those calories. So the first thing is to, once you realize that, is get switched over and start getting yourself to a point where you're eating less calories than you're actually burning. And so tracking and seeing the calorie numbers helped me start making much better decisions when I did have to go and eat out. So back when I used to go to Sheetz, I would order like the appetizer sampler and like a sandwich. And now it's like, okay, if I go to Sheetz, I'm just going to get whatever one of the healthy choice breakfast sandwiches are and something else light that keeps my meal total under like 750 calories instead of 1,200 plus calories per fast food meal. Another trick that worked for me is what I call the hot sauce diet. So hot sauce is 0 calories. The traditional ones that I have that are just sort of vinegar and peppers mixed together. And a lot of healthy food, in my opinion, doesn't have a whole lot of flavor to it. So I would add hot sauce in order to make healthy things taste better so that I could actually palate them and get them down. And then things that are unhealthy and delicious, like pizzas or anything that's fatty, if you smother it with enough hot sauce, it gets really hard to eat the whole thing. And so you can slow down your eating by basically punishing your body with hot sauce. So that's a little trick that worked for me when it came to dieting. So after several weeks of just focusing on diet alone, I started to see some pretty good results. I was getting down. I finally got down under 200 pounds. My body was feeling better. I didn't have those aches and pains in my joints anymore. I was feeling better as far as size goes. Pants were fitting better. Everything was fitting better. But I still had that sort of weakness. Didn't feel like I had much muscle mass to myself. So at that point, I got a fitness tracker. So I got a Fitbit, which I'm wearing right now. And the thing I like about having a fitness tracker is I'm a nerd and I like data. So the more points of data I can collect, the more I can analyze my lifestyle and make healthy changes and do sort of the right thing to put myself on the right track. And one of the first things that having a Fitbit sort of helped me do is actually start exercising. So I've never been a fan of exercising. I always hated working out. I thought it was like basically just masturbation for jocks and didn't really have any interest in it. I would play hockey once a week and be like, oh, that's enough exercise. I don't need anything else. But having the Fitbit actually helped because I could actually see how much activity I was getting every day and do a better job of making sure I got my steps in. Or they use a thing called move minutes, and when you exert yourself more, you earn a multiplier on your move minutes, which gamifies working out, and I'm a sucker for earning badges and things like that. So my home gym, I have a treadmill and a stationary bike as well as the Bowflex selectable dumbbells. And so that's really what I had to start with and what I still have today. I haven't added to the home gym because when the pandemic hit, everything home gym related, the prices skyrocketed. So the first thing I started doing was running. So I actually like running on a treadmill. I know a lot of people hate it. Pretty much everyone I've ever talked to has been like, running on a treadmill is the worst. It's the most boring thing in the world. I love running on a treadmill because I don't have to focus on not getting hit by cars and not like twisting an ankle by running off the side of the road. I like to just put a podcast on and just completely zone out, not pay any attention to what I'm really doing, so I don't hate running as much, and instead focus on the podcast and start thinking about what they're saying. I do a lot of great thinking while I'm running on the treadmill. A lot of times, as soon as I finish running on the treadmill, I'm taking notes on my phone afterwards for ideas that came to me while I was running. The treadmill's kind of replaced the shower as my idea spot. When I first started, I could barely handle a mile at like a 4 to 5 mile per hour pace. And even that was just like pushing me to the point where my lungs felt like they were going to burst out of my chest and my legs felt like they were on fire. But slowly over time, I would increase the speed, increase the mileage, and get to the point where it was no longer distance was no longer a challenge. It was just how much time I had available to myself to go for a run. And so the longest run I've done, I actually participated in the Penguins virtual 6.6K race. So that was the longest run I've had so far. And I think that took me like 40 minutes or so to do a 6.6K. And I'm at the point now where I can run like a 5K every day on the treadmill, no problem, and not feel like I'm going to die anymore. After a while of just running on the treadmill, I decided to finally start lifting weights so that I could actually gain muscle mass. So it was one of those things. I tried a couple different apps. I've tried the Fitbit Workouts app. I've tried BodBot, which builds a workout routine for you to target whatever muscle groups you'd like it to. The problem with a lot of those is I find they're very specific to being like, let's work on one specific muscle at a time. And it would end up being like they want you to do 40 minutes to an hour worth of like all these different reps and everything. And that was just too boring for me. So I started doing more research on workouts and things and finding out ways that I can combine different moves together. So I can do some work with the dumbbells to work my arms while doing things like squats or burpees added in between those, so that I'm hitting multiple different muscle groups at the same time and also really wearing my body out much quicker than the single muscle group targeting that a lot of the workout routines were doing. The big key for me has been, instead of having a set like do 10 reps of this, then do 10 reps of this, then do 10 reps of this, I just push myself to the point where I don't feel like I can safely do another rep of the workout I'm doing. I find it's a lot better and easier than trying to keep track of how many reps I'm doing and what point in the like cycle of the circuit I'm at. And that's really made lifting weights a lot more palatable to me, because I had a bad experience lifting weights back in high school, and ever since then I've not really been interested in doing it, and I'm finally back into a routine where I have a couple different weight workouts that work for me and that have shown results, because I've actually been able to see myself increasing the amount of weight I'm lifting, and also see definitions start to show up on my arms and legs, and not quite the stomach yet, but maybe someday. So where am I at now? As of November 2020, I'm down to 195 pounds. I got down all the way to like 190, and then since I've been adding the weight work in, it's been sort of creeping up a bit, but then been pretty static at 195 for the past month and a half or two. As I said, I'm now able to run 5K every day for over a week. I'm no longer tired after a short play session with my daughter, so I can actually run around, lift her up. As her weight's been increasing, it's been less of a challenge to lift her up. When I first started, carrying her for a little while would just completely destroy my back, to the point that I'd have to put her down and make her walk on her own. One of the downsides, most of my clothes no longer fit, so I got a suit shortly before this whole process started. So once tailors are open again, I'm definitely going to need to get that tailored so that it actually fits. I've had to buy all new pants, and I'm actually wearing my Red Team Fit shirt today that's a size medium. So this is the first time I've worn a size medium shirt since probably like high school. So as I said at the beginning, I've run into my own limitations. I obviously will never have six-pack abs. If you read any articles about the people who get six-pack abs, it's all about these very strict diets, and I absolutely love bread. I had a slice of bread earlier tonight. It's one of those guilty pleasures of mine, so if bread's in the house, I'm going to eat it. Same with most other carbs. I love pretzels too. I try to pretty much have at least one, sometimes two cheat weekends a month, and that sort of depends on what's going on, whether we're going over to my parents and having some special event, or my one buddy who has a camp out in the middle of nowhere. When we go out there, we tend to have a large number of beers and cook very unhealthy meals. The one thing that remains to be seen is still if I'll be able to maintain the routines I've created once I start traveling for work again, because that's always been one of the big pain points, is when you're traveling for work, trying to eat healthy when all you have available is really like fast food and junk. So some closing thoughts. Be careful if you do start going down the diet and exercise, because I know that activities like that can trigger eating disorders for people that are susceptible to them. The Red Team Fit hashtag on Twitter has been great for inspiration and seeing people who've decided to take the first steps in bettering themselves and improving their health. But remember that Red Team Fit is not a competition. The only person you're competing against is yourself. It's all about getting yourself better every day than you were the day before. And then also don't ignore the mental health aspect of your overall health. It's very important to sort of understand what you're going through, because everyone has their up and down days, and you want to make sure that you don't find yourself spiraling into a depression during this pandemic. All of us are sort of on our own, and if anyone ever needs anyone to reach out to, I'm always available through Discord and on Twitter. So don't let yourself get dragged down by your inner demons. And then finally, any questions?
Listen, how many calories is your chili?
Ooh, how many calories is my chili? I'm not 100% sure. I don't count it, but I actually did make chili this past weekend, and that's like my lunch every day is a bowl of chili.
A cheat weekend?
I mean, the chili is like a cleansing product. It cleans me out, if you know what I mean.
So you were talking about like the equipment you had at home, and you didn't buy any of this during the pandemic?
No, I actually had all of it before the pandemic. I mean, the treadmill was being used rarely. The bike was being used to hold some old clothes that were just sitting in the basement. And then my wife was the only one using the dumbbells. I had like never touched them before this.
I've been wanting to get a treadmill in the pandemic, especially as winter's coming up. But yeah, there's not. There's just too many options, and
Yeah, once the pandemic hit, everything sort of sold out real quick, and then people are jacking up the prices on a lot of things, so everything is way more expensive than it was originally. Like, I still want to get a like a bench for doing some workouts, and I've been struggling to find one at a reasonable price.
yeah, I don't even have. I mean, we have like a Pilates machine, but we've been wanting to get like a treadmill and like maybe some weights and stuff. But it's I think number one, it's hard to find something that is well reviewed, because Amazon is garbage, and 5-star reviews mean nothing.
True.
And like finding something that also isn't like 8,000 pounds. So I
Yeah.
feel like after the pandemic, there's going to be a lot of secondhand.
Oh, yeah. Craigslist is going to be the way to go for exercise equipment when the pandemic's over.
Yeah, yeah.
Anybody else?
Did you get to virtually high five Mario Lemieux at the end of the 6.6K?
Oh, I wish, but unfortunately not. But I did. So I found out the 6.6K, my bib number was number 68. And originally I thought that it was all just like a joke and they gave everyone Penguin player numbers.
Right.
But then like when I saw people putting in their times, um, like that was my real bib number was 68. And I was like, oh my God, I wish I had that bib number because I would keep that and put it with all my Penguin stuff over here.
That's awesome. But yeah, I was fortunate and we picked up a Peloton right before everything broke out. So that's kind of been my go-to throughout the pandemic. And despite the price tag, I think they do a good job of gamification and that sort of thing. So I'm also highly motivated by that, and it's
Yeah.
worked for me anyways.
Yeah, definitely. Especially so if anyone has a Fitbit and wants to become my friend on Fitbit, I also find having friends on there, like creating a little leaderboard, helps
Hmm.
motivate me to do better.
Will you
Yeah,
be
no, I
my
can't do
friend?
shit by myself.
I will be your friend. I'll post my Fitbit details on the Red Team Fit Bar Sides channel. We can everyone with a Fitbit can get together in there.
Yeah, I used to be a Fitbit loyalist. I has Google formally acquired a stake in Fitbit yet? I know there's been a lot of rumors about it, and I've been holding out because I really want like a Pixel Watch or something like that.
So Google is in the process of buying them.
Okay,
It's just going through regulatory hurdles in the EU. They
right.
keep delaying when they're going to give their answer. I think December they're supposed to have an answer now to whether they're going to approve it or not.
Okay.
I
Yeah, I
actually
need.
don't own a Fitbit, but I compete with my wife because Fitbit will at least let you use your phone. You drop a lot of step count, but you can still at least participate without spending anything.
My wife always crushes me on step count because even if we go like the same distance on a walk, because she's shorter, she gets more steps overall than I do. So she's always a couple thousand steps up on me every day.
I do get excited about the phone option because I don't have a Fitbit, but when I went to Costco the other day, I walked 1.5 miles. So, yay.
Ooh, I'm way more efficient at Costco. I'm like, just get in and get out.
Well, I only go like once every 6 months. I have no idea what's there every 6 months. So.
Hmm. I just avoid all the stuff that's not food. I'm like, I don't need a blender or another
You don't need
toothbrush.
18,000 batteries?
I do need those. I always pick those up.
Anytime we go anywhere that there's a shopping cart, I end up having to push because if you've got the Fitbit on, it doesn't count when your arm's static.
Hmm. Yeah, there's definitely been times late at night where me and my wife are like pacing around the house to get those last couple steps to get to 10,000.